Hello and welcome to the Election Corner on One Man Think Tank. I'm not at my normal computer right now, so this is a bit of a pre-recorded video, so sorry if there are any major events going down I'm not talking about. But I can talk about the future, because that's always going to be there. So we're going to talk about the 2022 Senate elections, namely the 5 scenarios that could happen. Now, for turnout for an election, there are essentially, like I said, 5 scenarios that can happen. High turnout from one party and low turnout from another, so 2 variations on that. High turnout from one party, average turnout from another, 2 variations on that. And then equal turnout, where the 2 parties match. So we'll go right to left on levels of influence, energy, that's the word I'm looking for, and we'll see how it all turns out. So right now we have the current Senate election map, which is the current Senate map. Now note, this little dot down in Georgia, which represents the special election, is not going to be up this time around. Instead, we're just going to use the main Georgia, because Raphael Warnock will need to defend his seat, given the fact he won it in a special election. So, let's dive right in, and we'll start with the high Republican levels of turnout. Now, immediately for the Democrats, they're going to start seeing some key weaknesses in their states. So Nevada is going to go leans blue, Arizona is going to go tilt blue. Both of these states very, very, very blue at the federal level the past 2 years, but they do have core bases that could be won if the Republicans run strong candidates. Over in Georgia, that special election they just won will become a likely Republican seat. Democrats need, at the very least, slightly better turnout from the Republicans to be able to hold on to this seat. Next up, we have Wisconsin, which would, in this case, be a safe red seat. Pennsylvania, on the other hand, would only be tilt, as the Democrats are trying to take this seat from the Republicans. But in a high turnout election for Republicans with low turnout for Democrats, Republicans are gonna barely hang on to this seat that Democrats should have a much easier time taking. 2 other places that would be very for Democrats would be New Hampshire, which would only be like leans in this case, because New Hampshire is a very red state at the state level, but for the federal level, it typically votes blue across the board and has for the past couple of years. However, like I said, a good Republican turnout, New Hampshire flips. Another state that would be slightly in danger, though this is, like I said, a very low Democratic turnout scenario, is Connecticut, for no particular reason other than the fact that Connecticut's margins are actually pretty close. Meanwhile, in this scenario, Republicans would be feeling very good, feeling very safe across the board. So now let's be a little bit nicer to the Democrats and move their turnout from low to average. In this case, all of a sudden, you're going to notice they're feeling a lot more comfortable in states like Nevada, and also Arizona, being totally frank. It wouldn't just be leans, it'd actually be likely. Both of these states are, at the federal level, seem to be blue now. But that doesn't preclude them from having strong challengers who can overtake. However, I think in high Republican turnout elections, that doesn't necessarily mean they win. Republicans have a good chance of winning them. New Hampshire is also going to move back into the likely column, and Connecticut will be safe. All of these territories are simply just Democratic strongholds that can be held onto. Pennsylvania would remain tilt Republican for this case scenario, while Georgia will enter into tilt Republican as well, just because while Republicans would likely flip Georgia back and take Pennsylvania, they wouldn't be at any particular risk anywhere else. However, Wisconsin would become likely, as would North Carolina. While Republicans do very well in both of these seats, average Democratic turnout could make the seats potentially in contention. So now let's go to equal turnout, and here's where things are going to start changing. In equal turnout elections, Georgia is going to go tilt Democratic due to incumbency bias and the potential turnout. North Carolina is going to become leans, while Wisconsin is going to become tilt. The blue state is not a big fan of their current senator, but if they don't have the turnout, they can't win. However, with the relatively equal turnout, things are looking a lot more contentious. Pennsylvania would become a pickup for the Democrats too, most likely going to a leans category due to the high numbers of turnout from the cities. Republicans would also see some minor cracks starting to form in their red wall, with states like Iowa and Florida going likely, not Ohio. unlikely to flip, but now a bit more in contention, as well as one or two states that I couldn't pick out right now off the top of my head, but just to represent them would be like Alaska and Kansas, states where there are strong Democrat, where you could run a strong Democrat and have a chance of winning. Now we'll go to high Democratic turnout, out with keeping Republicans at average turnout. In this case, states like Nevada and New Hampshire are going to go into the safe range, while Georgia enters leans. If turnout is favoring Democrats, they can feel a lot more comfortable about where they are. Pennsylvania also becomes likely, and Wisconsin becomes tilt Democrat, flipping another seat to the Democrats. In higher turnout elections, Democrats also do well across the board, though I'm not seeing any particular weaknesses in this Republican column. Overall, this election is going to come down to whether one or two seats flip. Now we go to our last seat, which is a high Democratic turnout, lower seat map. High Democratic turnout, low Republican turnout, which is going to essentially secure the existing seats they have for the Democrats. Georgia would become a likely seat in that case scenario. Arizona would be safe, as would Pennsylvania, because it is an open election, and so I don't need to follow my own rule of, well, if it's flipping from one party to another, it goes likely. There is no incumbent, thus either party could have this seat being safe. Wisconsin would also become leans. This state is still very in contention, while Iowa and Florida would become noticeably more contentious. North Carolina would probably actually become tilt Democrat in this scenario, as Democrats nearly have flipped the Senate seat twice in the past 4 years, and they are likely to, and in a high turnout scenario during a midterm, they would most likely succeed. States like Iowa and most likely high-profile races such as Kentucky would also become contentious, though most likely no big changes there. So overall, this is the other extreme. If you've noticed, the two extremes basically consist of both parties fighting over the same 6 seats, which I'm going to go over in another video, or depending on the order I upload this in, already have gone over with. So, either way, if you like the video, drop a like and a comment down below. If you want to hear more from the channel, click the subscribe button and the notification bell to be alerted when new content is released. If you want to hear more from me outside of YouTube, I have a Twitter, at OneManThinkTan1, the Roman numeral, link in the description below. And, as always, and most importantly, have a wonderful day.